What is going on, everyone? It is Joe, and I am here with the NPBA Season 4 draft analysis and team breakdown for my team, the Ann Arbor Ampharos. So I am super excited for this season. I'm hoping to bounce back hard from last season. We took not the best record overall, ended up having a forfeit win in Week 9, and that put our record at the end at 4-5. So missed out on playoffs just by a bit, unfortunately. Hoping this season I can take it back. We've got a lot of new coaches in, and I'm really excited to face all of them. I won't be facing all of them. I guess I'll only be facing 9 of them, but a lot of new faces here and some returning faces, so that's always good to see as well. Our Season 3 champion was Fac Luigi, the team that I actually beat on that lucky crit at the end, and I think Week 7, so congratulations to him. I got super lucky in my win against him. He totally should have beaten me, but it's kind of funny that I actually beat the champion by a crit, but didn't end up mattering. Of course, he was still the overall winner. So looking ahead to Season 4, I'll jump into the Kanto Division rules. Now, I'm in the Kanto Division. That's the top division. We have 4 divisions this season. Kanto, Johto, Hoenn, Sinnoh, 4 divisions of regular Nat Dex singles like we've always had. And then we have 1 new division, the Ore Division, named after the region from Pokemon Colosseum on the GameCube, an amazing game, by the way. And that is a low tier format. So this is the top skill division. Hopefully I'm not out of my league here. But let's just get into it. So the rules, we're trying out 11 Pokemon with 115 points. I decided to go with no range on the Pokemon. A lot of times, or pretty much every time, though, there will be a range of like either 9 to 11 or 10 to 12 Pokemon per team. I decided to just standardize it at 1 number. I thought it might make things go a little more smoothly. In retrospect, there are pros and cons to having it being set at 11. I think overall I do prefer having a range of either 9 to 11 or 10 to 12. Probably going to be 10 to 12 next time. But I just wanted to try it out. It's not a huge deal, not a big difference, but I would say overall some people had some complaints about it, so I'll probably switch it back. This is the NatDex Legacy format, so a little less common, but that means we have cut moves legal and cut items legal. Of course, we are banning Hidden Power, as all draft leagues should, and we are also banning Pursuit. This is a community decision. People just don't find Pursuit to be fun to play against, and I decide, you know, if we're going to have this format be a little out of the ordinary with Legacy, we should at least make it so, like, the thing that people hate the most about Legacy formats is not there, and we just keep stuff like Return, Signal Beam, Refresh, stuff that's, like, totally fine in the format, and get rid of the problematic things. Of course, Hidden Power is very problematic in draft leagues, so obviously that's banned as well. Then for items, we had gems legal last season. There was a bit of a controversy there. I don't actually think they're that overpowered. They are only a 1.3 times boost, not a 1.5 times. But we're just going to keep them banned. Of course, normal gem is legal because it's still in Gen 8, and it's not even that good. It's only good for, like, Hitmonlee, basically, which, you know, whatever, give Hitmonlee the buff. And the Berserk gene is banned. If you don't know what Berserk gene is, it's this really weird item that's only available in Gen 2. We just kept it banned to not have any confusion, because I didn't even know what it was until last season. So, moving on. I had the 6th pick of this draft, and 6th is alright. This was a little bit of a weird draft. The first pick was Zygarde, and then the second pick was Urshifu, and then the third was like Mega Scizor, and the fourth was Garchomp. So of the first 4 picks, only one of those you'd expect to see in the first 4 picks being Urshifu. And I was thinking, wow, I can actually get Dragapult at 6th pick, which is what I was really hoping for. I've really wanted to use Dragapult for a while. I've never gotten to, because I never get high draft picks. So I was thinking Dragapult, if not Dragapult, Urshifu. Unfortunately, pick 5, Fac Luigi, the champion of last season, he gets the Dragapult. Understandable. I would take it too at pick 5. I would take it at pick 1. So there's no Dragapult, there's no Urshifu. I'm thinking, I want something powerful, I want something that can be a threat every game, which most 18-pointers can. But there are certain things like, I don't know, like Torn T, Mew, that they're good, but they're more like versatile. They bring versatility, they bring a lot of utility, potentially offensive power, or maybe some more like defogging, utility, pivoting, that kind of stuff. So instead of getting one of those Pokemon, I decided to go with the monster himself, Kyurem-Black. Now, I understand a lot of leagues do not allow Kyurem-Black. Of course, we have banned Dragon Dance and Scale Shot. They are completely overpowered on Kyurem-Black. Heavy Duty Boots is allowed. I don't actually think it's the optimal item for Kyurem-Black, but it is nice to have that. Now, before I get into this a little bit more, I took all of these photos from Smogon's like Pokedex website. So you're going to see the tier on there. It'll say Uber, it'll say like OU, UU, stuff like that. Just ignore that. I'm just using this because the stat spread looks really nice in my opinion, and it shows the ability, it shows the typing, and gives you a decent picture as well. So Kyurem-Black, with the first pick, this Pokemon really does it all in terms of offense. It has an absolutely monstrous 170 attack stat. It's even if you resist like Dragon and Ice moves, it's still going to do a lot. Icicle Spear was a very nice buff. I shouldn't say a huge buff over Ice Punch from the last generation. And then of course Scale Shot was an insane buff, but we have to run Outrage if we want a Dragon move. I don't think it gets Dragon Claw. I could be wrong on that. I'm blanking right now. Of course, it also gets like electric moves. It gets on the special side, it has Freeze Dry. It has Earth Power. It has Focus Blast, and it also gets Iron Head for Fairy types. That's huge. Iron Head is going to be one of the most useful moves on this because one of the best ways to stop it is like a bulky fairy like Clefable, but you can't really do that if it has Iron Head. So after taking Kyurem-Black, that's kind of what I wanted to build the team around. It has amazing bulk, it has good mixed coverage, very good attack, still very good special attack at 120, and it's 125 HP is just ridiculous, and 95 speed is also pretty good. It has 700 base stat total. Who would have thought this Pokemon's really good? So, of course, I had to back it up with something that could... I guess the next pick here, not exactly something that backs it up, but it still supports it in some ways. And I was really surprised to see this get back to me, but I went with Gliscor. This is a 16-person draft, and Gliscor made it back to pick 6 on round 2, meaning it went through like 29 picks before me, which is pretty surprising, but some weird stuff was going, like Mega Gardevoir round 1. I'm blanking now. There were some like strange picks in round 1 and round 2 as well, but I think other teams, the teams that made the strange picks ended up being pretty good, so I'm not one to criticize. Gliscor, a very unique Pokemon. It gets U-Turn, it gets Defog, it gets Stealth Rock, it gets okay coverage, of course. Stone Edge, Earthquake, Swords Dance. I think it gets Agility or Rock Polish. I'm not sure on that, which one it gets. I think it gets one of them, maybe both. Not that it matters. And it has very good stats. Extremely good physical defense, and not the worst special defense. 75 HP, 75 special defense is good enough if you invest in it. And its attack at 95 with Earthquake is very respectable, mainly because it has Swords Dance. And it's also fast. It has 95 speed, so I can run this thing bulky. I can run it like a fast attacker. A lot of times it's just going to be, honestly, a Toxic Staller. Of course, Poison Heal is what makes this thing so bulky, because you look at its stats and it's like, yes, it's very defensive, but it's not like unbelievably defensive. It's still like just like good on the defensive side, and then on the special defensive side, it's below average. It's not good by any means. I would say it's a little bit bad, but with Poison Heal, if you run Protect, you're getting back a quarter of your health every 2-turn cycle, one of them where you use Protect. So you're kind of unkillable by some things if they really can't do enough damage against you. Of course, if they set up on you, you can be set up fodder sometimes, which is not good. But you're carrying Toxic so often that that's not even going to matter all that much. So The main reason I picked this is because I wanted a good defogger, and Gliscor is a good defogger. I have to look that up right now. Am I an idiot who thinks Gliscor has defog and he actually doesn't? He might not, but he also gets U-turn, which is really nice. If I run this as a slower pivot, I might run like mid-speed Gliscor in order to U-turn out into the Kyurem-Black, because Gliscor could, well, it could do that. It also, having Stealth Rock support is really nice. And I am just going to make sure, 1 second. Sorry about this, gotta make sure this thing actually gets defog. It also gets Faint, which is kind of cool. Highly doubt I would bring that. Oh, and I believe it gets Knockoff, which is very strong. I really thought it got defog. Maybe it doesn't. Actually, we'll see at the end, so stay tuned on that, because I have a slide at the end that will tell us if this thing gets defogged, but I hope it does, because I'm pretty sure it does. If not, I made a mistake in drafting it, but it's still pretty good either way, mainly as a Toxic Staller and a defensive pivot. So, sorry for rambling, but I went to the main, like, this is the MVP of the team. I hope it will be. This is Slowking, our regenerating slow pivot. So, Slowking pairs very nicely with Kyurem-Black. It can lure in like grass types that want to kill it and teleport out into Kyurem-Black, who can then kill them. Also can lure in like electric types that Kyurem-Black will resist. Dark and Ghost, not as much, but they're usually not the bulkiest, so at least dark types, so Kyurem-Black can deal with them pretty well. This also has Slack Off. Future Sight with Teleport is extremely strong, and this can pivot into our other threats as well. So having Regenerator to go into Gliscor is really nice, because you get the Regenerator, and then when Gliscor comes in, if it's poisoned, it'll heal that poison back. So it's kind of like pseudo Regenerator on Gliscor, just for like 12%. So that's very nice as well. I think it's a really good pairing. Of course, the electric weakness being absorbed by the Gliscor and at least resisted by the Kyurem-Black. This thing has very good coverage. It gets Flamethrower, it gets Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, it's got that Gen 1 moveset. It even gets, does it get Knockoff? I don't think it does, no. But the main reason I got this is for slow pivoting, teleport, and very bulky on the special side. We have two fairly physically bulky Pokemon, of course Gliscor, and then Kyurem-Black's a little more physical. This is my first real special wall, so hopefully can really neuter those special attackers that are going to be coming my way, because I'm going to need it for that. This Slowking really ties the team together, and you'll see later, really on the next pick, it helps there a lot as well. So Slowking was a great pickup for me. Now at this point I was pretty solid in these three. I was thinking like Gliscor, I was between Gliscor and Corviknight when I picked that one. I really picked Gliscor because it got rocks. But at this point I was a little lost, and someone from the server named Florent, also his name is Ritatamens, or Ritatamans, I don't really remember. He has like 2 names. He was helping me out with this team after my first 3 picks, and he was like, just take Kartana, it just kills everything. So I took Kartana. It has 109 speed, so finally we cracked that base 100 speed tier. 109 is very respectable, and it has an absurd 181 attack stat. Also fairly physically bulky, terrible on the special side. This thing probably dies to like Water Gun, but it can live like probably some pretty strong physical hits that are super effective based on that really strong defense stat. Now its coverage isn't the best. Its best steal move is like Smart Strike, but it does have Leaf Blade, it does have Knockoff. It even gets Defog, which is really funny. I'm never going to use that, but I could use it. It wouldn't be the worst. Other moves, I don't really even know what other moves it gets, but it has enough coverage to like get by. The main thing is this will kill water types. My team so far kinda struggles with water, because I don't really want to go for ice moves, and I can't really spam Outrage if they have a fairy. Of course Gliscor struggles with water, and Slowking is, it's not the most offensive. So Kartana being able to come in and just click Leaf Blade and absolutely destroy water types, specifically water ground types, because I can't use like electric moves against them. So I really needed some grass coverage for that, as well as being a steel type bringing a bunch of resistances that could be needed. Steel types are pretty much necessary on a team, I think. And you'll see in a little bit, I actually have another one coming up in a few picks. So Kartana, it's going to form the main offensive duo with Kyurem-Black. I don't really think there are things that can wall both of them. Of course, other steel types can be annoying, but I have enough moves for them between my other Pokemon, especially the Gliscor, that can just Earthquake on them, that I think this is looking really solid so far. Of course, we are very physically biased right now, so my next pick was actually not Mega Manectric. So Florent was telling me you really need more hazard support, get Roselia, and I was like, that is absolutely perfect. Roselia seems so good here with spikes and toxic spikes. It got sniped. So I went with Amoonguss. Not really similar to Roselia, even though they're the same type, they're fairly different. And I ended up dropping Amoonguss in Grace Period for Mega Manectric. So Mega Manectric, it is very fast at 135. It's my top speed tier, of course. And 135 special attack, quite strong. Not very bulky, but it's making its return from last season, of course, getting that clutch overheat crit in that Game 7. But its move pool is not good. It's basically an offensive pivot. It has Volt Switch, it has Thunderbolt, it has Thunder, it has Overheat, it has Flamethrower, it has Snarl, and it has Signal Beam. It has Roar, I guess. It gets like Mud Slap. But the extent of its moves are electric moves and fire moves. And maybe Signal Beam if they have like Hoopa Unbound or something. Or like Zarude, or I don't know, something like that. So this is another way to deal with water types, as well as flying types, and also kind of be a late game cleaner. So my team so far is very hostile to ground types, if you can't tell. We got the grass type Kartana, we got the water type Slowking, Gliscor's immune to ground, and then Kyurem-Black's an ice type. So my first 4 picks are all like favorably matched up into ground types. So Mega Manectric, obviously its biggest weakness is ground types, as well as grass types, I would say, are pretty annoying for it. Not grass types, sorry, they die to fire moves. What am I thinking of? Really just other electric types, which we have Gliscor for. And dragon types, which can be kind of annoying, but that's fine. The biggest thing is ground types really just stop this thing in its tracks. But since my first 4 picks can all deal with ground types really well, Mega Manectric is going to be a great late game cleaner. If I can kill, their first 3 Pokemon and then just chip the rest with like really strong hits from Kyurem and Kartana, but maybe not knock them out, Mega Manectric can come in, Volt Switch out, get a kill, go into like Gliscor or Slowking, and then we can pivot out depending on what we need for the matchup. So I think this is a really good core of 5 that can come to a lot of games. So from here, I'm missing a couple things. So I don't think typings are super important in Draft League. I don't think you need every type that people tell you need. I do think you need a steel type. I think no one would dispute that. I don't think you need a dragon type. I don't think you need a water type, but I have those. I don't have a fire type. I have a grass type, but you don't need a grass type. I can tell you that right now. Grass is not a necessary type in draft leagues. It ends up being on a lot of teams, but you don't need it. But one type I would say is maybe the 3rd most important type to have besides steel and dark. And yes, I don't have a dark type either, but it's fairy. And I'm lacking right now in a fairy type, and I'm also lacking in a defogger. Outside of maybe Gliscor if it gets defogged, but even if it does, I don't want to run that every week. So I went with Togekiss, fairy flying type, mainly here because like a lot of people will use this thing for Air Slash, Thunder Wave, like flinch hacks, Paraflinch, being annoying with that, and it gets Air Slash for that. It gets like Flamethrower, it gets Aura Sphere. Has some decent coverage. Of course, Dazzling Gleam. Unfortunately, not Moonblast. That would be really nice. But I'm actually planning on using Togekiss more often as a defensive option. It gets Heal Bell, I think. It gets like soft boiled as well. So it can be a bit of a cleric. It doesn't get Wish. It might get Wish. I'd have to look that up. But if it does, even better. It gets Defog, which is huge, and then pretty good coverage on 120 special attack with insane bulk. I mean, 85 HP, 115 special defense is very, very good. And then 95 defense, that's still pretty much, yeah, that's bulkier than not Chansey, obviously bulkier defensively, bulkier than Clefable. On the special side, it's way bulkier than Clefable, and on the physical side, it's a little bit bulkier. Of course, Clefable has the benefit of a better ability and a better typing, but just on raw stats, Togekiss beats it out, and it still gets healing moves, and it gets Defog. So honestly, this isn't that much worse than Clefable. Of course, it doesn't get the pivot move Teleport, which is probably the most important thing. And it doesn't have Unaware, which is a broken ability, and it doesn't have Magic Guard. I really wish Togekiss got U-Turn. It would be amazing. But the nice thing about it is it can come in. It doesn't get to pivot, but it can still offensively pressure things while bringing Defog support. So I can have this offensive Togekiss that has like Dazzling Gleam that'll do a lot of damage, but then also have Soft Boiled and Defog if I think they're going to switch out. So there's a lot of versatility here. Fairy types tend to be fairly versatile, and this is coming from a Togepi, which came out in Gen 2, Togepi is a Gen 2 Pokemon, which means, it has a lot of coverage coming from that early gen normal type coverage. So I really like Togekiss here. It's not something I usually draft. It's not really my style. None of this team is really my style. The only Pokemon on the team so far that I'd say is my style is like Slowking. I don't tend to draft, and Mega Manectric, of course. I like these fast pivots, but Togekiss I just think really rounds out the team in terms of what it needed, that being a Defogger and a Fairy type. So moving on from Togekiss, I originally took Azelf, and Azelf was just going to be the lead. It was going to come out as a lead. It was going to set rocks. It was going to U-turn, knock off, Psychic, Flamethrower, Thunderbolt, or maybe Thunder Punch, I don't remember. And it was just going to be a good lead. Always get rocks up, always pivot out, do good damage, knock items off. And that was perfectly fine with me. But my team's type matchups weren't looking very good. I only had, at the end of the draft, because I did pick Azelf and I dropped it. I'll show you what I replaced it with. But at the end of the draft, I had a few things weak to rock, and my only rock resist was Kartana, which really is not supposed to be a defensive option here. And Azelf is not defensive at all anyway. But it still provided a lot of utility and offense at the same time, which I really enjoy, having that versatility on it. But I dropped it for something more versatile, and, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, it was another steel type. So I went with Jirachi. And this is a little bit of a annoying duo, Togekiss Jirachi, definitely not something people want to face, the double flinch haxers. But I love that. I can run like Thunder Wave, Choice Scarf, Iron Head, not Thunder Wave with Choice Scarf, but Choice Scarf, Iron Head, Thunder Wave, Iron Head. I can kind of switch between the Togekiss and the Jirachi to do like flinching depending on the matchup. But Jirachi provides way more than just flinching. It can do pretty much the same thing as Azelf. It's a bit slower, but it actually gives me a new speed tier in 100, whereas Azelf was 115. You'll see a little bit later I already have something at 115, so I didn't really need that speed tier. And it's way bulkier. And it brings that steel typing to provide another rock resist, and really a more defensive rock resist, because Kartana is not a defensive Pokemon. Jirachi can be whatever you want. It's super versatile. Maybe like the third or fourth most versatile Pokemon. Obviously Mew, then Clefable, and then maybe Jirachi. There's a few others, but Jirachi's fills a lot of roles. So it can still be Stealth Rocks, U-Turn, plus attacking moves. It doesn't get knockoff, but it gets Wish. It also gets Healing Wish, I believe. And you also get Doom Desire, which is interesting. You can run Stored Power with Calm Mind or Cosmic Power. You can run Rest with Snore, which is really good because Snore has a flinch chance, which means Serene Grace Snore is like higher chance to flinch. Otherwise, like, it gets the elemental punches, so it gets some decent coverage there. And I've just been wanting to use this thing. Last season, I almost added it to my team. I ended up getting Victini instead, which I think was the right move for that team, but I think for this team, Jirachi just fits pretty much perfectly. I'm going to take a quick break for like 2 seconds to drink something, because I have a dry throat. Alright. Anyway, Jirachi is going to be very nice for the bulk. Very nice for that flinch combo with Togekiss, and especially good as a lead with Stealth Rocks and U-Turn, and even can come in as a defensive pivot with Wish. So a lot of sets I can run. If you have been noticing a theme so far, I'd probably say it's versatility. We got Jirachi, Togekiss, not these two, Slowking, and Gliscor, all as like pretty versatile Pokemon. So yeah, that's Jirachi. And earlier I said I really wanted Roserade, and I got sniped, so I just went with Roselia. They're basically the same thing. That's a joke, but Roselia was 2 points, which I think is pretty good value, probably worth like 3 points realistically. Of course, it's not very bulky. You're going to run the Eviolite. It'll be pretty good on the special side, but on the physical side, quite meh. I mean, obviously Eviolite helps a lot, but it's not going to be amazing. Its special attack is actually pretty good at 100, so it can run like, Sludge Bomb and be annoying to fairy types, but overall this thing does not have good stats. It is here very much like exclusively for spikes and toxic spikes. If I bring this, it'll probably be a suicide lead with both hazards and then, maybe some attacking moves to like be annoying. Probably like Leech Seed though. There's not a lot to say here. The reason hazards are so good is because I'm relying on high power sweepers, more like wall breakers like Kartana and Kyurem-Black. A lot of times they can just kill things from neutral, like not super effective hits, but sometimes it won't be like a full kill, it'll be like 80 or 90%. So having spikes up is going to be really nice. Of course, having the 2 stealth rockers from before, also very nice, but sometimes, certain matchups call for different things. Having Roselia there is pretty useful. Toxic spikes are not easy to come by, and this is where I got them. I really wish I got Roserade though. I will not lie. Roserade would have been nice. But, it's also a grounded poison, so people have to be more wary of bringing toxic spikes against me. That's Roselia, that's all to say. So, next up, had to get my Dark type, the other necessary type besides Fairy and Steel. I would say those are the 3 necessary types, and I got kind of a weird one with Alolan Persian. This thing is deceptively bulky. It has Fur Coat, which means its defense stat is doubled. I don't know exactly if it's doubled or if it's like it takes half from contact moves or if it takes half from physical moves. I do not recall exactly how the ability Fur Coat works. Also gets Technician if I want to run more of an offensive set. And here is my 115 speed tier. So this is mainly for Parting Shot. Parting Shot into one of my attackers. Like if I Parting Shot into Kartana, they don't want to stay in because they're weaker now. Let's say it's a physical attacker, they can't do any damage to me. I get a free Sword Stance, I sweep. That sounds pretty good. Parting Shot into Kyurem-Black. Kyurem-Black doesn't get setup moves because they're banned. Dragon Dance is banned, or Scale Shot's banned. But it means if they stay in, they probably die. If they switch out, they probably have to sack something because it's Kyurem-Black. So, Alolan Persian, Parting Shot is good. Parting Shot's a really good move. One of the best moves in the game, I would say. I would say definitely the best of the 4 pivot moves. There's more than 4 pivot moves. Like the 4 main pivot moves. Or, I mean, 5 main ones. It's between Parting Shot and Teleport. But I really like it. Gets knockoff as well. Gets some random coverage moves. I don't really care. It's mainly here for knockoff and Parting Shot. And of course, being that Dark type to resist Ghost, resist Psychic. I would have preferred a better one, but yeah, they go pretty fast, and there wasn't really one within my budget. So this is what I ended up picking, and I'm actually pretty happy with it. So I hope this ends up being useful. Not sure how often it'll come, but the threat is there. The threat of the Alolan Persian, definitely a big threat to my opponents. And I believe this is my 10th pick, but I was kind of not liking my matchup against like Scizor, Mega Scizor, Ferrothorn, like those steel types that happen to be 4 times weak to fire. I didn't really love my matchup against them. So I just was like, yeah, I'll get a decent fire type. I really, really wanted Magmortar. It was actually at 5 points. I would have preferred Magmortar to Centiskorch by like a lot. And it was a point less because I forgot to move Magmortar up to like the 6 or 7 tier. And it's probably worth 6 since Centiskorch is probably worth like 5. But I was looking at fires after it got sniped. And I settled on this. It's actually got pretty good bulk, 100 defense, 90 special defense, very solid. And then on the physical side, not so good, but we'll live with it. Pretty especially bulky though, and then a lot of attack in 115 and a little bit of special attack if I want to run a mixed set. Flame Body is very nice here, having that immunity to fire, because my team is a little weak to fire, I would say. I technically have 4 fire weaknesses. You'll see my last Pokemon's also weak to fire, but 2 of them don't really count. So anyway, Centiskorch also has the Flame Body option. Very good for facing stuff like Melmetal, anything that's really going to want to have like contact moves. There's no Urshifu Rapid Strike. That wouldn't be a good matchup anyway, but you know, whatever. Ambipom. I don't know. Gonna drink some water again, one sec. Sorry about that. So I was looking at Centiskorch's move pool. It's really good. It's probably going to run the same moves every time, and it's probably going to have to run heavy duty boosts, unfortunately. But it gets Fire Lash, which is a broken move. 80 base power, 100 accuracy for fire, physical. 100% chance to lower their defense. So you just use it twice. And they're pretty much going to die. Because the first hit's basically 80 base power, and the second hit's basically 120 base power. So that's like you're using a 100 base power move if you average it out. So it's like using 2 Earthquakes. What's living 2 Earthquakes? Not a lot, and Fire's a very good offensive type. Then this thing is pretty bulky, but since you can't run leftovers most of the time, it gets Leech Life. So it can heal itself back with Leech Life, which is buffed in this, or I think it was buffed in Gen 7. So that's nice. And then we got Knockoff and Power Whip for more water ground types that might want to come in on it. Or just waters in general, like Power Whip's really strong. So Centiskorch is like sneakily very strong. I'm not saying it's good, like it's not a good Pokemon in a vacuum, but its moves are strong. It has Power Whip at 120 power, and then Fire Lash is like, you can treat it as if it's like 100 base power. And that's pretty much it. It doesn't have a lot of versatility. It gets Will-O-Wisp. It actually gets Scald if they have like something that is weak to Scald. Like honestly, another fire type I might run Scald for if I end up bringing this. So I'm pretty happy with this pick. I still wish I got Magmortar. It's got a little bit better bulk and a little bit more like of the moves that I want. And it's a bit faster. It gets Flame Charge Belly Drum, but didn't get the Magmortar. Can't be mad about it. And this is the next best thing. So for my last pick, I had 1 point. So I went with the ultimate value 1-pointer, Masquerain. So I don't know how you say this thing. This thing's name. I say Masquerain. It might be. It's probably Masquerain because it's like Masquerade, right? Bug Flying. Its typing's terrible. It has like one of the worst typings in the game. We're not going to worry about that. It has Intimidate, and it has Defog, and it has Sticky Web, and I think it gets U-Turn. And this is literally here for Sticky Webs. Like, Intimidate is really nice too. It makes this thing a little bit bulky, like a little bit. It actually has kind of good special attack at 100, but it's not good. It's a 1-pointer. Not a lot to say here, but I like having Sticky Webs as an option, and having it on Intimidator, might as well, might as well get the Intimidate off before you die, right? So, Masquerain, loving it here. I think it's a good fit for the team. Now I'm going to show the whole team. This is using Ballhawk's team building page. So shout out to Ballhawks for this page. You can see all the Pokemon at once, and you can see their weaknesses, and now I get to see Gliscor does in fact get Defog. You can look in the bottom right. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but you can see what moves everything gets. I don't have a Rapid Spinner. Masquerain does get U-Turn, as does Persian. We got Parting Shot on the Persian. We got 4 U-Turners. And then of course the Teleport on Slowking. I got 2 Rockers, and then 1 Webs, and 1 Spikes, 1 Toxic Spikes. So that's pretty good. And then we do have the Heal Bell on the Togekiss, just to confirm that move existing. My apologies, that was probably loud. Sorry about the noise there, and the lack of noise. Talking for 35 minutes straight makes me lose my voice a bit. I just wanted to take one last look at the team. As you can see, a couple types were a little bit more weak to. Ice, but it's like, a lot of these weaknesses I just don't care about, like Ice and Fire. Like, I don't care about Roselia or Masquerain being weak to Ice or Fire. So really I have 2 of those weaknesses that I care about. Again, I don't care about them being weak to flying, so there's no typing that I care about, you know, that we're weak to with more than 2 things. And we have a lot more resistances than weaknesses on that front, so that's pretty nice here. So I like how things turned out. I think this is kind of a weird team, but at the same time I think it's very strong. The speed tiers are there. We got 135, 115, 109, 195, 80. And I got all the sufficient moves. So I'm liking how it turned out. I think the main game plan is going to be Kyurem-Black and Kartana are the main attackers. Like, those are going to come most weeks, and we're going to want to support them winning the game. Slowking is the glue that holds this team together. It's going to teleport, it's going to regenerate, it's going to set off future sights, and it's just going to make it easier for me to kill with stuff with Kartana and Kyurem-Black. Gliscor is going to be more of a kind of do whatever I want, be annoying thing, and then Togekiss and Jirachi are more utility but like a little offensive. My last 4 picks are all for like specific scenarios, but this Mega Manectric is going to be our one like truly offensive pivot. But Jirachi can also be an offensive pivot, as can Gliscor if I need it to be, and even Persian Alola. So I have a lot of options for each role. There's no single role that's like only on one thing, other than like fast sweeper with Mega Manectric, like fast cleaner, but you don't really want more than one of those anyway. So I'm thinking if I can win most weeks with Kyurem-Black or Kartana, anything they don't kill can probably get cleaned up with Manectric. So I think that's a really good trio for offense, and then I have 4 very strong supports for that, with Gliscor, Slowking, Togekiss, and Jirachi. And then, again, for specific matchups, I think Centiskorch is going to be pretty good in maybe like 1 or 2 matchups. And Persian Alola as well. And then Roselia, Masquerain, I don't know if I'll end up bringing them, but they are there. They provide hazards, and they're going to force my opponent to run Defog, because this team's hazard support is... I'm sorry. This team has pretty good hazard setters. It's just that, like, I don't have to bring them all. So my opponent has to respect the sticky webs, they have to respect the toxic spikes, but that doesn't mean I have to bring them. That's all I have to say about this. I'm very excited for this season. I think I can win. We got some really good battlers, so I don't know if I'll win, but I've got a chance. I think my team last season, I should say, really wasn't for me. This one, it's new. It's a different drafting style. It's more about like how can I support my 2 offensive threats rather than how can I build like a true balanced team. Because sometimes that's just the way you win. You don't need to be like balanced in all sides. You just need to be like, I have these threats, answer them, and then when you try to answer them, I have this other thing that can deal with your answer. That's how you play Pokemon, of course. But that's a little bit more of my draft style this season as opposed to just, I want to make these cores, I want to have these speed tiers. And honestly, I didn't even really pay attention to speed tiers. They kind of just happened. I was like, Mega Manectric would be nice at 135, and Jirachi like over Azelf would be nice to kind of fill that gap. But those two changes, Jirachi and Mega Manectric, I did those in grace period. I didn't even draft those when I was actually drafting my team. That's all I have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching, and you will see Week 1 battle sometime in the near future. See you later. Bye.